Hi, Northaveners, and welcome to Northaven Voices. My name is Diane Merrell, and I am here today with the truly great pleasure of interviewing Jen Hanson. Now, I'm going to read this because it's changed. Jen is our Director of Children and Youth because it just recently changed, right, Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to
That
have
was correct. Good
I'm going to
job.
have you get in. Thank you. I'm going to have you get into that here in just a minute. Jen has 28 years of experience working with children and youth in church and school settings, right? And you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary at Northaven in June, which is
Almost. Yeah.
crazy, right? So I guess
Right.
in June it'll be 29 years of experience.
Right. Right.
Oh, okay. We are so fortunate that you're with us. All kidding aside, we're so fortunate and so blessed that you're here with us. And I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you have amazing things planned, and our kids and families are just heading towards really wonderful things. And so we thank you for being a part of our Northaven family. It's really wonderful. Okay, let's get down to tax, Miss Jen. Thank you for being here with us. I'll ask you a couple of questions. Um, I feel like there's a lot to cover that we could cover, but we have
Yeah.
a very short period of time. So I'm going to try and do this the best I can. So why don't we start with, for those people that don't know, a little bit of your story, your background, where you were born and raised, your siblings, where you went to school, career, your own kids, kind of a general thing like that.
Okay. I can do that. I was raised in Coffeyville, Kansas. That is my hometown. Any of you that you may know some things about Coffeyville. You may know Coffeyville because of the Dalton Gang, which was a group that tried to rob two banks at once and a long time ago, and they were fought off by the townspeople. And there's a
Cool.
museum and a reenactment every year, and that's kind of Coffeyville's claim to fame is the Dalton
Love
Gang.
that.
I grew up there with my parents, and I have a brother and a sister. I'm the oldest, which
Ah,
is will probably not surprise people.
no.
And I just had a wonderful upbringing. I have so many fond memories of both growing up in a small town and a very close-knit family. I graduated from my high school. I was a debate and forensics and theater kid
Oh,
and did all of those things and just really enjoyed that. I grew up in a United Methodist Church in Coffeyville and was extremely involved on the conference level. The Conference Council on Youth Ministries was something that I was a part of, and was on the leadership team for the senior high summer camp, which we called Institute. Institute is over 100 years old, has been
oh,
happening
wow.
for 100 years, and they have held it at lots of different locations. But when I was in high school, and still currently, it is held at Baker University, which is a United Methodist University in Baldwin City, Kansas, which is about 15 miles from Lawrence, where KU is.
Okay.
And so I attended Institute and helped be on the leadership team for that in high school, and then fell in love with that campus
Hmm.
of Baker University. And so that's where I attended college. It was the about the same exact size as my high school. And so very small, under 1,000 students at
Oh,
Baker
wow.
University.
Wow.
But I loved it. I knew how to be somewhere where you knew everybody and
Right.
kind of knew everybody's business. I was used to that sort of
Right.
atmosphere. The kids from Kansas City had a hard time because they were from bigger places,
Hmm.
but loved Baker, and my time there was an elementary education major, and graduated with my degree and teaching certificate. And my brother and sister and I all three went to Baker, so we
Oh,
have
wow.
very fond Baker memories, and that's a place that's very near and dear to our hearts. After graduation, I taught sixth grade for a few years. I
Oh,
taught about
gosh.
6 years before I got married and was pregnant with my first child with Grace, and I'm not sure how I timed it, but I was literally pregnant for the school year. and she was due Memorial Day weekend. And so I taught that whole school year, and my husband at the time had gotten a job offer in Texas. And so his job moved us to Texas that summer. We had Grace in June and moved to Texas in July. So
I'm so sorry.
yeah,
It's not our best time of year.
no, and the family, Grace is the first grandbaby on both sides. And
Oh.
so yeah, we broke everybody's hearts when we moved to Texas. And
did you move to Houston?
We did not. No.
Okay.
So we did about 6 months in San Antonio. Then we were in Austin for almost 3 years, and then we were in Houston for the longest amount of time. Houston was almost 20 years.
Oh wow.
And so the only reason anybody forgave us for moving to Texas was because that is where my grandmother was from. My mom's mom, my maternal grandmother, lived in Texas, grew up on a ranch outside of Midland, and loved Texas. My mom was actually born in Texas. And so there's some Texas roots in our family. And so that's why they forgave me for moving away with the first grandbaby.
Yeah.
And so then Grant was born in Austin. Those are my two kiddos. Grace is now 23. She's in Boulder finishing up her grad school. She's going to have a master's of fine arts in creative writing, and she will finish up and be moving back to the Denton area this summer. And Grant is in Denton. He's at UNT. He is a junior and a history major and works for the city of Grapevine. If anybody ever goes to Grapevine to tour the train depot or the 1800s farmhouse, you will probably see Grant Hanson dressed up in the 1800s and explaining to you what that time in history was like. So that's kind of my background and my kiddos.
So just one little aside. We loved having Grant in children's time with you last Sunday. That was
Me too.
Amazing. Has he recovered from that?
He has, yes.
Okay.
He has recovered, and yes, he's a very good sport. They both have grown up with a mom in ministry, and so they know how that works.
When we show up at church on Sunday, something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
So we lured you here to Dallas from Houston.
Yes.
Your beloved Astros.
Yes.
Have you found a sports team here that you can support? The Cowboys, the Stars,
yes,
personal favorite, the Mavericks, FC Dallas. I'm not going to say Rangers because it may be too soon for that, but have you found a team?
I'm a Cowboys fan, and I have been. I'm a Cowboys / Kansas City Chiefs fan, big Chiefs fan. But because my grandmother came from Texas and she loved sports, she was a Dallas fan, a Cowboys fan from the moment they were the Cowboys. And so, yes, I used to give people a hard time in Houston because I would never get on board with the Texans. And yeah, no, the America's team, the Cowboys are America's team.
How can you not,
so
right?
You don't even need to look any further. So,
well, I predict someday you will become a Rangers fan.
I don't know. That may be a harder sell. That may be a harder sell.
Okay, understand. Okay, so in all seriousness, truly, how's the transition going? It's change is hard. Even good change is hard. And
yes,
you moved and started a new job, and that's can be tough. And I'm just curious how the transition has been. It's been almost a year. And if there's anything that surprised you about moving here.
Right. Change is hard. You're exactly right. And, but it was a good change just timing wise for me. And so, there were definitely some moments of transition. But I think some of those were also just kind of that empty nester type transition.
Yeah.
That's
a real thing.
It really is. It really is. And so, yeah, just kind of figuring out, okay, I don't have to be responsible every minute of every day for these other two humans. What does that mean?
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
And so that all worked, and and God's timing and plan, and that all worked out. I have loved, Northaven has been the constant. Northaven has
Right.
been, the reason why I moved, and what is kind of on the days when I'm lonely or missing Houston or sad because I can't be with friends there or something. Northaven has kind of been what's kept me going.
Good.
Y'all have made me feel so welcome, and I never know for sure if it's a compliment when somebody says it feels like you've been here forever.
Well,
but
take it as a
I'm
compliment. It means that you're
yeah,
part of the family
I'm
and you
choosing to
see that
take it as a
way.
compliment because I feel the
Absolutely.
same. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a very good fit, and it's been very easy to meet people, and I've gotten lots of dinner invitations and lunch invitations, and that is good too.
Yeah.
Kind of helps me with all my free time. That's the
Right.
hardest thing, is just having so much free time, and I also I'd never lived alone. I realized I, had kind of gone from my parents' house to the dorm to the sorority house to a roommate to getting married. And I had never really lived
Interesting.
by
Yeah.
myself. And
Yeah.
so I'm trying to embrace the parts of that that are great. Like, if I want to eat cereal for dinner cross-legged on my couch, I eat cereal for dinner cross-legged on my couch.
Right. Right.
So it's definitely been a transition, but I am learning more and more about Dallas and exploring more and more, and starting to have some favorites and some places that I go. So
So it's
that
starting to
feels
feel a
good.
little bit like home, which is
A
what
little
we
bit.
want for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in the next few months or so, it will even feel like home even more. Um,
Right.
so kind of switching gears just a little bit. So Jen, could you share with us a favorite Bible verse or Bible story or a time in your life that formed your spiritual, your spiritual journey, just a time that formed you or anything like that? Is there something you can share with us?
I think it's interesting because the the 23rd Psalm is one of those kind of iconic, like everybody knows that.
Right.
And so, that was one of those. I remember having that question before and not wanting to use that because I'm like, that's what everybody says. Um, you know,
I must be
but
different.
right, I know I don't want to have a run of the mill answer. But it's interesting because as I've worked with children, there's actually a children's book version of the 23rd Psalm,
Oh,
and it's called Found, and it's a story of a lost lamb, and it uses kind of wording that's more comfortable for children, and it goes through that, and there's a part in it where it talks about even when I'm in the dark scary places, God is always with me.
uh,
And that has just been something that I've always tried to keep in mind, both for my life and when teaching children and working with kids and youth. Because I think too often there are some churches that kind of preach that prosperity gospel.
right.
And the message is, if you believe is sunshine and rainbows and unicorns from now on, and you're going to be successful and have money, and nothing bad ever is going to happen to you again if you
Right.
believe and pray real hard. And we know that that's not true, that's not how the world works. And so I've always tried to express to kids that good things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen, and
Right.
God is going to be with you in all of those things.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
an important lesson. Yeah.
that's just been something that is always true for me, and that even the times that seem so difficult or so challenging or so just hard are the ones where I've learned the most,
Right.
and because God was with me.
Right. And you might not realize it in the moment, but looking back,
Exactly.
which is
Exactly.
my journey, right? So speaking of the kids, and the youth and the families of Northaven, what is your wish for these humans? What is it for Northaven and beyond, and just for the children of our church?
Well, one of the things that I remember so much about growing up and being in the church where I was raised is that I never felt like the children and youth were kind of put off in a corner.
Hmm.
I think there's some types of ministry where the children and youth are just kind of sent off on their own to learn and do, but to be separate from
Right.
everybody else. And the grown-ups are over here and they do their thing and the kids are over here. And growing up, it wasn't like that. We did a lot together and intergenerational, and I learned so much from those grandparent type folks at my
Oh, sure.
church. And
Sure.
and so that's, I don't ever want to be a part of a ministry where the kids and I all just go off behind a closed door and nobody ever sees us and we're not a part of the bigger picture. I feel like it's really important. And I think Northaven feels like it's really important too,
Yes.
that
Yes.
we're all together and that we do things as a church and where we kind of mix our generations a little bit. There's definitely developmental stages and there's things that are appropriate for children and youth,
Right.
and I want to stay true to that, but I also think there's a lot that we can do together where we're learning from each other and growing and just learning the gifts that all the generations have. So that would be something that's important. Another thing I think it would be important to look at is kind of a scope and sequence for children growing into youth at Northaven. And the question I always ask is that, if somebody were to attend here from birth to 18, what are the things I want them to know? What are the
Mhm.
experiences I want them to have? What are the touchstones of faith that I want them to be aware of? What do we do when they're baptized? What do we do when they get their third grade Bible? What happens when they're confirmed? What happens when they graduate? There are those milestones.
Right.
What Bible stories do we want them to know? What, things like the fruits of the Spirit,
Right.
what Methodist history type things. So I think we can kind of have a plan where you look at that end version. Here's this 18-year-old that we're sending off into the world, and we want them to have all these pieces
Foundation. Sure.
and foundation that they can use to put together a grown-up faith.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I can just say, as a congregant sitting in the sanctuary on Sundays and seeing the children's time, we get as much probably as the kids do out of that time. It's really a special time, and we I can speak for myself, love it, look forward to it every Sunday. Okay, coming to my favorite part of the interview, rapid fire questions.
All right.
First thing that comes to your mind when I ask you these following
Okay.
questions. You ready?
Yes.
What brings you joy?
Music.
Oh, that's surprising. Okay. What's your happiest memory?
Oh, the beach.
We're sisters. Do you have a hobby?
Reading and tap dancing.
Really? Tap dancing.
Really.
Did you take dance as a child, and that's where you found that?
I took dance as a child, and then when I moved to Dallas, one of the first things I did outside of Northaven was join an adult tap dance class.
I
Mhm.
love that. That's so awesome. Okay. Oh, I got totally thrown
That's
off.
all right.
Okay. Where is your favorite place and why?
Oh gosh. I think I love I love going home to wherever my parents are. Yeah, just because it grounds me, and oh, you're gonna make me sad or cry. It reminds me of, not sad, but it
Yeah.
just reminds me of the how much love.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, how fortunate are you, right? Okay. Do you have a guilty pleasure? Be honest.
Um, Pizza and peanut butter and chocolate ice cream.
Oh, okay.
Not together,
I was
but
going to
like
say,
I love pizza and I love peanut butter and chocolate ice cream.
okay. All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because,
no, not at the same time.
um, what is, besides tap dancing, one thing that people probably don't know about you that would surprise them?
Um, I'm a runner. I run.
Really?
Hmm?
Have you?
Yes,
That's interesting. So
yes,
did
and
you
I'm
have that
actually
as a kid or as an adult?
no, I did not run until I was 40. And so yeah, didn't ever run. I no, I thought running was crazy.
Well,
And then
welcome to my world.
and then I started and I'm actually training for a 10K.
That was going to be my next
Yeah.
question.
Yep.
You have any desire to do a marathon?
No, I don't
Good
think that
girl.
far. No, I think 10K may be my limit, maybe a half, but I don't see a marathon in my future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is there anything else that you would like for all us North Haveners to know about you or anything that,
Well, I just feel so lucky to be here. And so, I've worked in churches for a long time and been around a lot of churches, and and churches are all very similar.
Mhm.
And but I can say that North Haven is an amazing place. We've got some wonderful leadership and staff and people in the congregation and all of our volunteers. And I have just felt so welcome, and I feel so blessed to be a part of the team and be a part of this place. It really, really is special.
I think so too. And thank you for saying that. Well, thank you for visiting with me today. It's been such a joy to get to know you a bit better. And we are so thankful and grateful to have you with us, Jen.
Thank you. You were one of the first people in the congregation I met.
Yep, yep, yep. I remember that. And I was so excited.
Yes,
So,
yes. Well, thank you.
of course, of course. And we'll have to do lunch sometime.
Yes,
All right. You
it's a
take
date.
care, and we'll see you on Sunday.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.